Despite falling to the Timberwolves on Saturday, the Thunder are still in very good position to make their first finals since 2012. And for that, they owe a huge thank you to the Clippers for fleecing them in 2019, landing Shai and a whole load of draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, it made complete sense for the Clippers at the time. You're getting Paul George and you're also getting Kawhi Leonard, but this is aged like some milk out in the sun, man.
Before we start talking about the Shai Paul George trade 6 years later, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So we've told this story before, everyone remembers it. In the summer of 2019, the one night, everyone is absolutely shocked. The Clippers trade for Paul George and they signed Kawhi on one night. And what was especially shocking because Paul George had just signed a 4-year extension with the Thunder the offseason prior. You had Westbrook and him throwing that party.
Yep.
It looked like Russ and PG was like the duo, the Thunder's core moving forward. And then the following season, Paul George has the best season of his career, absolutely unstoppable on offense, was super clutch, great on defense, finishes third in MVP voting. Thunder still weren't like an amazing team. You win 49 games, pretty good, but a stacked Western Conference, that gets you the 6th seed. You match up with the Blazers, and we at least have our moment here. Dame ended them, the 36-foot bomb.
We were there.
Yeah, and that was the end of the Paul George Russ core. Paul George requests the trade that offseason to go to the Clippers because him and Kawhi were talking together.
Well, have you heard the story that he just told recently on his podcast?
No.
Okay, so the way he says it, right?
Okay.
Is he says he asked for the trade out because he heard rumblings that Russ wanted to leave, right?
Oh, okay.
So according to him, it was Russ. That was the one who initiated the split. And PG was like, well, I don't want to be here if Russ isn't going to be here. So I said I want to go too. So, if we believe podcast P, that's how he says it went down.
Regardless, like we said, that set up one of the most shocking nights in NBA history. They signed Kawhi and they trade Paul George to the Clippers, and they get back a haul that included Shai, Danilo Gallinari, the Heat's 2021 unprotected first, the Clippers 2022 unprotected first, the right to swap in 2023 with the Clippers 2024 unprotected first, the Heat's 2025 first lottery protected, the right to swap with the Clippers in 2025, and the Clippers unprotected first in 2026.
Did the Clippers give up their liver too? Jesus
Basically,
Christ.
all for Paul George, who granted was coming off an incredible season, but holy that's a massive haul.
At least for the Clippers, it's almost over.
Right,
like
almost.
They give up their pick next year. It's completely unprotected, but after that, they're free and clear. They're done with this shit. I mean, look, we've said this in a bunch of different videos. You can't really blame the Clippers, especially at the time, right? They were always in the Lakers' shadow. Remember, the rumor at the time was Kawhi was gonna go to the Lakers if he didn't go to the Clippers. I mean, maybe he could have stayed in Toronto, but in all likelihood, he wanted to be in LA above everything else. So if he wasn't going Clippers, he was going Lakers. So you steal him from your biggest rival and you land Paul George. I get why they did it, but considering what that package has become, well, let's talk about it.
So initially in 2020, the Clippers were instant title contenders. You could probably even say title favorites. It was basically them and then the Lakers, who had LeBron and AD. Clippers, it looked like, had a deeper team. Lakers had a better duo. Clippers beat them on opening night without Paul George, and they beat them on Christmas. Lakers did respond. They evened the series at 2 apiece. But going to the bubble, a lot of people were picking the Clippers to win the title. I think the Lakers were like slight betting favorites, but the Clippers had the deeper team. They beat the Mavericks in 6 in round 1 and then have the 3-1 lead on the Nuggets in round 2, but completely choke, losing the next 3 games, going down in 7. And Paul George in game 7, I'll just say a night to forget for him.
Way off P.
Yes.
George, way off. Here's the side of the backboard. But remember, we got to give Doc Rivers credit for just winning those 3 games.
Right.
To begin with, right?
A lot of credit.
Almost got there, Doc. So close. On the other side for the Thunder, this was a complete surprise season. I think they were projected by a lot of people to be one of, if not the worst teams in the league. And yet Chris Paul just went straight point God this entire season, completely carried them. Shai also made a huge improvement in his second year, averaged I think like 19 points per game, but ultimately the Thunder match up with the Rockets, go down in 7, but still, better year than anyone thought possible from this Thunder team.
Next year for the Clippers, Doc Rivers and the team made the mutual decision, of course, yeah, air quotes there, for him not to return as head coach. They brought on Tyronn Lue, and they were still contenders, but not quite as good the following season. They go 47-25 in the shortened season following the bubble. Got them the 4th seed once again. They match up with the Mavericks. Kawhi and Paul George both missed time during the regular season, but they were healthy going to the playoffs. They knock off the Mavericks in round 1, but Kawhi tears his ACL versus the Jazz in round 2. Title chances basically over at that point without your best player. Gotta give credit to Paul George though. He actually had a huge bounce back playoffs, leads the Clippers past the Jazz. They make the Western Conference Finals, actually their first and only conference finals in their franchise history, but eventually they fall to the Suns in 6 games. I mean, with Kawhi, they have a decent chance to win the title this year.
Yeah.
They probably could have beat that Suns team, who knows? And then maybe they beat the Bucks, but of course, as we all know, injuries just always limited this team's potential.
And back over to Oklahoma City, I mean, they basically did what they wanted to do the year prior, which is completely tank, get a good draft pick. They completely cleaned house. Chris Paul, Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder were all shipped out. Shai took center stage, increased his scoring output to 24 points a game, also averaging 6 assists and 5 rebounds, but with no supporting cast, the Thunder took a massive step back. So in the draft, they pick up Josh Giddey with their pick, and they take Trey Mann, 18th with one of the picks they got from the Heat. So Shai continued to improve, but now it was time to put a good supporting cast around him. 21-22, the Clippers would be without Kawhi for the entire season, obviously recovering from that torn ACL. Paul George had a pretty good year statistically, 24.3 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 5.7 assists, but he did only play 31 games, missed a ton of time dealing with a torn ligament in his elbow. So the Clippers, they only win 42 games, ultimately missed the playoffs after losing in the play-in. But this is great news from the Thunder, because remember, they had the Clippers' unprotected pick this season.
And we'll get into that in a second. First, we'll talk about the Thunder. Once again, not very good. Shai continued to improve. 24.5 points a night. So he was looking like a guy who at the very least was going to be a future all-star. Lou Dort improved, and you had Josh Giddey who had a solid rookie year. But now on to that pick they had from the Clippers. The Thunder also had the second pick, just their own pick since they were so bad. They used Chet with that pick out of Gonzaga. And then with the 12th pick from the Clippers, you draft Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. So not only are you getting Shai, a future MVP in the Paul George trade, you're also getting a guy who in his 3rd year is already an all-star, made all-NBA 3rd team this season, and was all-defensive 2nd team. Just,
it's not looking good.
Yeah, it continues to get worse on the Clippers side.
Following year, the Clippers got Kawhi back, and they were much better. Both him and Paul George played over 50 games. Paul George played about the same level he did the year before, 24 points a night, 6 boards, 5 assists. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, though, sprained his knee, missed the rest of the regular season and the playoffs as the Clippers went down in 5 against the Suns. Kawhi also tore his meniscus in that playoffs. I mean, we're going to say it till we're blue in the face. Like, injuries just murdered this team. They had no chance whatsoever. And this was really the first season where there wasn't really a debate who was better between Paul George and Shai. Shai took a huge leap, 31.5 points per game, 5.5 assists, almost 5 rebounds, made All-NBA first team, and finished 5th in MVP voting despite the fact his team missed the playoffs.
Yeah, just insane. And then you had Jalen Williams, who we just mentioned, 2nd Rookie of the Year voting. I don't think it was like a huge race between him and Paolo, but still 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting.
For a guy you picked up at number 12.
Yeah, with your 12th pick, another player they got from the trade. So everyone knew the Thunder had a bright future. You have all these picks, the young players, but this was really the season where like everything started to come together a bit. You could really see the vision moving forward. You still barely missed the playoffs, losing the play-in. They had the right to swap with the Clippers, but that didn't convey because the Clippers still had the better record. But at this point, you have 2 franchises going in very different directions.
Last season, though, again, the Clippers win over 50 games. Paul George is an all-star once again. Kawhi, again, dealt with injuries. When does he not, honestly? Right. Played a couple of games in the playoffs, but just wasn't himself. PG and Harden were able to put up a fight against the eventual Western Conference champ Dallas Mavericks, but ultimately they fell in 6 games. Paul George really struggled in games 5 and 6, including that game 5 where they just got blown off their home floor. And on the other side, the Thunder had an absolute breakout season. Shai finished 2nd in MVP voting behind Jokic. Thunder got the 1st seed for the the first time since 2013. Jalen Williams continued to improve. He averaged 19 points a game. They added Chet to the mix for his quote-unquote rookie year. They did fall in the second round, just like the Clippers did to Dallas, but regardless, a great season for them.
The Thunder had the Clippers pick. They used it to take Dylan Jones out of Weber State. This season, like, since the Thunder were so stacked, he didn't really get much play for them, but still like another project piece you have. And back over to the Clippers for the last time, Paul George would leave them in free agency. Not a sign and trade. They didn't trade him before the season.
They lost him for fucking nothing.
Lost him for absolutely zip, which given how his next season for the 76ers would go, not necessarily the worst move, like better than re-upping him, but still you give out the whole farm to get Paul George and then you lose him for absolutely nothing.
I mean, it's like getting your house repossessed and then like a week later it gets blown over by a tornado. Like, yeah, it sucks, but you would have liked to sell it, not get it repossessed, right?
Then finally this season, Shai at the very worst, I think is the third best player in the league, and I'm putting him above Luka because Luka's kind of injury prone at this point, you know, a little bit overweight, and he's a cone on defense.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, if you want to say Luka's better, go for it, but the only players I think you could say are better than Shai right now, and I'm just saying could say, are Jokic and Giannis, and really the only player for sure that is better is Jokic. I'm sure some Shai fans are like, oh, we beat Jokic. Jokic is still better.
Jokic is, he is better.
Like, come on now. Maybe at some point Shai will be the best player in the league, but for now, at the very best, he's second best. And then you have Jalen Williams, we've touched on. Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Just can do anything. As we said, all NBA third team, all defensive second team. The Thunder, it looks like they're headed back to the finals. Maybe we'll curse them. We're recording this before game 3, but so far through the first 2 games just have looked absolutely dominant. And they still are going to be receiving the Heat's pick this year, which is the 15th pick. They still have the Clippers unprotected first next year. I don't imagine that's going to be like a lottery pick. I would probably say like, you know, 17th, 16th pick.
Hey, the West is tough. You never know.
Yeah, it's tough. Like maybe Harden, Kawhi gets injured. I mean, just finalizing in conclusion, like, it's really tough to blame the Clippers a ton for this because we know the Clippers' history. They've never been this great team. They've always been in the Lakers' shadow. This was a legit chance to be a championship contender. You had Kawhi, arguably the best player in the league at the time. You had Paul George coming off this incredible season. I mean, technically, according to Doc Rivers, he tried to convince Kawhi to sign there and to keep Shai because Doc knew Shai was going to be this future amazing player.
Why do I feel like Doc didn't do that at all?
Because he didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But like seriously, to wrap it up, we understand why the Clippers did it, but in hindsight, this has the chance, like we're still years away from seeing how this all pans out. The Thunder could be this future dynasty. If they win this season, don't want to like jump ahead. This could go down as the worst trade in NBA history.
Yeah.
There's other awful trades, but this could be the one.
I would still lean the Celtics-Nets trade a little bit more because the Nets got one good year out of that and then fell off a cliff, right? The Clippers at the very least got like a 5-year period where they were a consistent playoff team, made the second round a couple times, made the conference finals once. Still probably the best era in their history, honestly.
Yeah.
And it made them relevant, it made them compelling, it made them interesting. The Nets got one good year and then died, right? So I would still lean towards that Celtics-Nets trade being worse. That being said, if Shai goes on to win 2 or 3 MVP awards, he's already got one, and if he goes on to win like a couple of championships, yeah, this one might be the worst.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Is this the worst trade in NBA history? Do you think another one is worse? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like, and hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.